So thank you for joining today. As the invitation was, this is like a discussion. It's not me talking. So I do hope it's more an inspiration for us to talk and exchange. And I'm from cohort 3. So it's nice to have different cohorts here together. And just a background of why I like this subject. I worked for more than 2 decades in the IT industry. And it's a high speed, so there is a lot of burnout, but it's not very open, right? And only when I shifted, when I left IT and came into mindfulness and emotional intelligence. So the first thing, I was invited to a gathering of CIOs, which used to be my customers or my partners. And from a group of 10 or 12, there were 3 that were not working because of burnout. So then it impacted me a lot. And I continue to see it more and more. And thanks to one also Search Inside Yourself teacher, Jeremy, I ended up in Thailand teaching meditation in a retreat center.
Nice.
Called New Life Foundation. And because of them, I came to Portugal, since they have they opened a center last year here in Portugal. And one of the main focus for them was to help people to prevent or recover from burnout. So nice. I studied 1 year before coming a lot on that. So just to share a little bit of background, I also studied mental health in the organizations in Brazil, in a very big, large hospital. So this is more and more present, the topic. So as we are all coming back from the break, just inviting you just for a couple of breaths, just to sit, feeling you grounding and arriving to this session. 1 or 2 deep breaths together. And allowing your breath to flow naturally. Feeling your feet on the floor, support of your chair or cushion or the floor. And connecting to your intention with so many offerings, why this topic resonates to you in this moment. Inviting you to show up, to share, participate, so we enrich our discussion and learn from each other. Why burnout? Maybe you had some experience, or you know people who went through an episode or more. Or you want to help people going through that. And opening your eyes, doing any movement your body is asking you. So as I was preparing for our discussion, I started from this report to know what are people feeling at work. And I will send you the link so you can all download the report.
Thanks.
And what got my attention is the first page. After the front page is the executive summary. And the first phrase is 2021, as the pandemic raged out, the global employee burned out. So we speak about burnout since the 70s, but it's still more and more a current subject. And a few highlights from this report, right? Is people feel a lot of stress, right? And I thought this number is very low, the 44%. But when they write, 21% of employees are engaged at work, that should not be green. I think this should be a big, big red, because I think this is one of the most complicated problems with work nowadays. And there are many reasons. We may discuss this time together. And only 33% are thriving and taking care of themselves and feeling that emotionally, physically, and mentally they are doing well, right? So they continue to write. So they give advice on how to help people manage their challenging emotions and prevent burnout. So when you see the report, this link will open a page with some information. And one of the 6 major conclusions is that this is an imperative, the well-being of the employee, right? So because engagement and well-being is low, so this is preventing people and companies to grow and to thrive, right? And I did a presentation yesterday, so I wake up today and I come with the news from Mr. Musk, right? Elon Musk, who now leading Twitter, and I worked in technology for 20 years, so everything is, so he said, after sending people away, for those who stay, that they are expected to work at least 40 hours from the office, no more home office. And in other occasions that it's expected 80 hours of work, because he works 120. So, and even with so many hours, they still want them to be performing at their best, right? So all the neuroscience wrote on that, it's impossible to these two things to go together. And so then I wrote in one of the portal of news here in Portugal, because it wasn't everywhere today, a lot of comments of people saying, oh, my company is the same, it's a lot, the only thing is he is transparent and he is voicing this, but that's happening. So what do you feel when we see this, all the things saying we need to do, it's our mission at Search Inside Yourself, but then we see these people like him in the real world? Any comments?
I feel like I know for a fact that it's not productive to work that many hours, and that that's not the life that I want for myself. And on the other hand, I also feel like, you know, Elon Musk he's built like empires, right? He's a very successful man. And how can he be so wrong about this? Like how can he make things work so well for his companies wow, this is the leader he's being. Like that kind of, all the research shows that his way of doing things doesn't work, but in practice it's working because his companies are very successful. So I actually get, conflicted with this, to be honest.
Yeah, let's see. First, I think we have to understand what's the meaning for our success for each person, right? It's not only about money. I think it's more and more with the big resignation and all of that. There's more what is success, but let's stay tuned and see, and we hope to influence that other companies are still successful in a less toxic way. And I was looking for a few jobs in LinkedIn, and then I read this comment in more than one, not a traditional 9-to-5 job, but it didn't mean like it's a flexible and you have benefits. I could really read that expects to work very hard, a la Mr. Musk, right? So let's see what it comes. I prepared a poll, but as we are a few, we can just talk. Have you heard about all the 4 concepts? Beside burnout, we are talking about burn on, bore out, or bored out, or bore out. Some people write different, and brown out. And they're all correlated subjects. So we see there is a lot of investigation and concern going on. So burnout is very familiar for everyone. A recent study of gathering all their articles until 2019 found like 14 different definitions. I just brought 3, but just to illustrate, right? And the first one, I think, whenever we talk about burnout, although it was not Christina Maslach who created the first framework and talk about burnout, she developed the first assessment, right, the MBI. And so we have dimensions impacted: energy, enthusiasm, and confidence. What these 14 different types have in common, all talk about exhaustion, right? So this is a common sense. And then there comes different stages according to this, like after the exhaustion, you become more cynical or about your job. And then this sense of not feeling accomplishment, right? And putting the burden on oneself, right? And what I like from her continuous research, like it's not about life balance only, and that's the person's fault, right? There are few domains that impact that, and it's not the workload the most important. It's the fairness, right? People feeling that what they give and they receive, and what's going there, it's fair. And the other is having control. Like I can plan my day, I am flexible, of course, but it's not totally out of that. And more talking about values. And this is so much related also, the values part, with what we see at Search Inside Yourself, right? Then only in 2019, the World Health Organization included that as with their description as a medical, but they do not classify it as a medical condition. So people looking for support usually will have more problems or difficulties to have the support, because they will have medical impact, although they do not call a medical condition. People in real burnout, they have a total breakdown. They are impaired of doing their job or to do even basic activities, right? And I met once and was so impressed, a doctor, labor medicine doctor. And she said, I have a person that's 3 years in recovery. And I was really shocked with that, right? And the third one I want to share is a work done by in the University of Zaragoza. So I've been in touch with this Jesus Marin. He works with one of the teachers of Zaragoza, which also partners with the university in Brazil. That's why I work closely with them, with this Javier. So they created a new assessments which will allow to identify different types which are related with that other words that I will briefly share with you, right? So they create 3 different types of burnout, right? Why and how people go into that condition. And I think having clear what is the challenge is easier to address, being in a clinical or medical or psychological, or doing some coaching and some other training, right? So they call it the frenetic, which is the, let's say, the workaholic, typical, very driven person, right? Ambition, very involved in the work, no failures accepted, leave yourself as a second priority. So if you are sick, you go to work. If you are tired, you go to work. And that was happened. The other is, right, it can generate the same condition when you feel bored, right, or disengaged, right? Or when we saw in our Search Inside Yourself program, when he had this curve of being in the flow, right? If you have 2 less challenges, right, you are also not on your best. So this under challenge type would be there. And the other is the worn out, right? So it's going really on zero energy, right? And really having difficulties on sharing. So if you are curious, I was surprised when I did it 1 year ago. I did both assessments, the one from Christina Marlert and this. And I was surprised with the results. Sometimes we are not so aware of what it is, right? And so I will share, and you can do the assessment if you feel curious about, and any, if you want later to talk about that, we can do that. So just reach out to me. And when I was doing this training of mental health in the organizations, it was even in the medical and the health care group, they only started to feel or be aware of their burnout when they started doing the questionnaires or teaching. Oh, I feel that, I feel that. So although it's so much spoken, not everyone recognizes, because the symptoms can be from similar to other things, pain in the body, anxiety and others. So just to tease you a lot of about that. So
Marina, I'm so sorry. As I told you, I need to leave to take my son to an appointment. This is so interesting. I hope you can share the presentation later.
We talk later, Barbara.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye, Barbara.
Bye.
So the second type that Marina said, the under challenge, now they create also a new term, which is bored out, right? So
okay,
yeah, so the symptoms are very similar, but this is very much related to that portion of disengagement, right?
Okay.
That although you have tasks that are too repetitive or not feeling part of the team or being left out or being in your comfort zone too long.
Very
right?
interesting.
Yeah, and this is from an article from Forbes. So I will also share the link. And they bring a few questions when you as a leader or you're for yourself are feeling like that, right? Some questions you can do to see what the next steps are, right? First, you will need the energy to move out of this situation, right? Then, and this is so much related to engagement, and Christina Maslach in the MBI inventory, this assessment, she says that to measure engagement are there exactly 6 dimensions we mentioned before. So, but it's the opposite of that, right? When you have values, you have control and recognition and all of that, then you are engaged. So burnout and engagement is like 2 opposite sides of the same coin, let's say. Right? And recently, by now it's available only in German, this book. And the podcast from them, I also just found in German. So the born on would be a pre-burnout stage, right? And it's like the border of being there. So what people feel it's this being on all the time, being so vigilant and active and hyperactive. And then you are so tired that you go into doing nothing. And mostly also not doing things that would recharge you. But then and this, I think pandemic also brought a lot of this, being this connection about work times and personal life times and rest times, and technology also invading, like having your phone checking hundreds of times in a day. So this continue on will lead to a burnout, but has the same physical conditions, and they call it like almost a chronic depression, right? So it's very dangerous. And what people usually do is then, they go on a short vacation or they meditate a little bit just to be below that line that will lead to the breakdown. So it's very dangerous, and that's important that they create this new word so you can understand and change habits before going to a burnout, a full burnout, right? And the last one is brownout. Brownout is also a term that comes from electricity when it's all shut down. It's the burnout, but comes because of the loss of meaning or not feeling useful, right? So this also have the same consequences, but usually if the person finds some guidance, that usually will lead to change jobs, right? So it would be from all others, the one to be easier to recover, right? And again, it's so important that we continue to have this practice of reviewing values and the gap in our Search Inside Yourself program, because that would address that, right? So I'm happy to share a little bit of the new buzzword around the topic.
That's great.
How did it resonate to you?
It's great. I was not aware of the variations, so I think it's really interesting. Yeah, and I come to the topic because like in the last year, when we approach some companies to offer SIY, few of them ask, and what about burnout, or can you say something about burnout? So I'm interested to know more about it. I have a research background, so for me it's really interesting, to be exposed to questionnaires, definition, terminology. So this is great.
Great,
Thanks.
great, great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wanted to connect all of this with what we had, right?
Yeah.
I think that was more useful than creating a list. But to go into a search inside ourselves to see how valuable, how much value we have in our program to address that is more a question of using the appropriate language. We don't need really to create much thing.
Yeah.
So a Harvard Business Review had this guide, Beating Burnout. It's a very it's like a 250-page guide. It's a small thing with lots of practical articles. So it's very well organized and very rich. I really recommend it it's very related for our work in B2B. To be aligned with our language, to search inside yourself. And I brought a few things here from this guide to link.
Did they actually talk about that? Make compassion a habit?
Yes, they
Really?
do. There's an article which is titled Make Compassion a Habit.
Ah, that's brilliant.
Yeah, so first, and that's, I think, where leadership comes, right? Because they also start saying about this myth that burnout, it's not a work-life balance problem, right? It is a workplace problem, right? And so it's not people who needs to treat themselves, right? When I was in this center, we did a research with companies, and they say, why would we pay for someone to treat from burnout, right? Without understanding they are the cause. It's not the people that lack resources, right? So when we see that burnout has to do with leadership and has to do with company culture, right? Rolling out Search Inside Yourself broadwide would help change the culture and then reduce the burnout levels, right? And they have this article so related with our compassion session that says, make compassion a habit, right? And it seems it was written by someone from Search Inside Yourself, but is not, right? So it's the empathy from emotional intelligence, right? And when we are open to hear and understand and act on that, so that's one of the articles there. Wow. And then about resilience, right? How we can recover from or bounce back from burnout using self-care, right? When we practice self-compassion, it creates more room for taking care of ourselves. Shift perspective. So we do have the line where we talk about shifting perspective on our challenges, right? And seek out connections. So when we practice mindful listening or active listening, and we are connecting better, right? And my favorite one, that's why I think it's so important that we reach out to the leaders, is that burnout is a leadership problem. And so they put three main things as the issues, right? Excessive collaboration. Like in COVID, like everything, let's have a meeting and do that, right? And let's discuss that. We have to know when it's time to engage, when it's time to produce, right? and then use more properly the time. And then it's always this thing of giving those who perform well more and more, and then they start to be overloaded, and again it's not fair, because we talked about fairness. Why I have so much on my plate and the others no, right? So that's why leaders have to be aware and how to take care of the workload, of the challenges, in a good sense, right, for everyone.
Yeah.
So have you read already
Yes.
book? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to connect a little bit of what is there
Okay, great.
with what we already have, right? So we have a very good material. As you said, you have this challenge now, or this demand in companies. We have a lot of good material there. So let me put it smaller here. So the 4 areas, right? The current level of stress and burnout is so costly for all the organizations, it's not sustainable, right? And since we just saw from Harvard Business Review this consensus that burnout is on leadership, right? We also see here the more and more the needs for human-centered leadership, right? And resilience, not only to innovate and adapt, right, but also to deal with our demands. So so just linking then emotional intelligence with mindfulness, with the burnout prevention, right?
Yeah.
If we saw that burnout has to do with connection, right? So if I can be more present and be truly connected with people, leaders or co-workers or customers, only that will help this sense of empathy and compassion and intervention, right? And also using that to make decisions or manage my workload in a more skillful way and being able to communicate. I've been seeing a lot of people having problems or fears of communicating that, right? So this mindful communication will also lead us to more psychological safe places, right? Which also will impact a lot, right? And we say about managing stress, but just the beginning, right? So we see the stress that's managed by mindfulness and self-care, which lead to emotional intelligence, right? And this leads to resilience, right? And when we talk about the burn on people, right? They have a lack of ability of setting boundaries, right? And so if you have more emotional intelligence, you can set boundaries in a more healthy way, right? And one of the signs they say for being burn on, is that you are too easily triggered. Like simple things that, like, I'm tired and my boss comes and asks me some again, right? This impulse of someone comes to you, or you have not patience with a coworker or a customer, right? This is a clear sign of burnout, burn on. So if we have more emotional intelligence skills, right, this reactivity will be lessened. So I can notice before, oh, I am having trouble with that. So what can we do, right? Or set more time for your digital detox, or really disconnecting from work and more making more clear, or being able to communicate better. And also we spoke about engagement being the opposite of burnout, right? So here having this possibility of feeling more connected and safe and supported, it will generate more engagement, and this will be the opposite of burnout. So when we support or give room to people to be more engaged, and we saw from the numbers, this from the Gallup report, there's a lot of room for improvement in employees' engagement, right? We will have better teams, right? And as to the burnout is a leadership problem, so this our manual here also talks about the challenges of the leaders. So they need to take care of themselves, to be sensitive to the needs or the signs they see in their teams, right? And to be able to manage that. So, yeah, that's what I just wanted to highlight, that we do have everything we need. And I see the more I connected all these reports and research, the more I saw how we are so prepared to address all these things, right?
You mean in the content of the SIY program?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I like the way you just broke it down with the definition and the main elements, and how emotional intelligence addresses that, or SRY addresses that. And it's a good way to because it's always the key, to explain how the program and emotional intelligence helps. No, it's great. And did you say you will share the slides?
I can share. I
or the reference at least.
Yeah, because I created a list of links here, like the WHO definition, the report, how to see signs, the Gallup report, the one from Forbes, the assessment, a lot of all the syndromes where I collected that.
So if you can share that, it would be great.
Yeah, I will include the PDF from the PowerPoint, so you can have that also as a reference.
Yeah, for me, it's more the reference that is interesting.
And from what you heard from your, as you said, from your customers, what were they more specific, or just in general talk about burnout, or what was really they need, so we can improve that?
Unfortunately, one, we didn't, at the last minute, they canceled the contract, so I didn't get to know more. And another one, like, we're still working with them, and I want to bring it forward as a prevention topic more, because everybody are really much under pressure. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't have more data, but I will have more soon in 2023, because I will be working closely with one organization in particular. Um, but my former the place where I used to work, I used to work for a big company, a multinational, um, and I know a lot of people are quitting because of burnout. And I myself only recently realized that perhaps when I was there, I was suffering from burnout.
Uh-huh.
You
Yeah.
know, and I decided to quit for health reason, you know, but I would have never put myself in the burnout category. So
Yeah.
I became a bit like curious about that. You know, I was like, oh, could it be a
What's
bit
that?
subtle, you know?
Yeah.
And you mentioned some things about that when you do the questionnaire. Sometimes you can
Yeah.
see things, yeah.
Since
So
we have some time here, because um, I left a lot of room
yeah, for
for
discussion,
discussion if the group were
was
larger.
bigger. Yes, yes, of course.
But then I will show you the this where is it? Share.
I have another meeting at the hour. Unfortunately, I will not be able to continue with the teacher gathering. That's a shame. So I might have to leave 5 minutes before just to
Yes, yes.
take a short
I
break.
will just show that and we wrap up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
So
you
that's
have
the the
the questionnaire for the burnout that I mentioned from the
yeah,
Zaragoza University.
yeah.
So usually when you present that, because this is part of the thesis, right? You would not put the letters, but here so
Ah,
you can use it to answer yourself, right?
yes, 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 yes.
When I offer to clients, then I do it like in a Google form, and I was even trying to automate the calculation. But
But
so
do you give workshops on burnout sometimes?
yes, I do.
And
Yeah,
do I understand that you send the questionnaire to participants?
yes, I do.
Both
Yeah.
questionnaires or only
No,
this
no,
one?
because this one is free,
Ah,
and
okay.
the from Christina Marlak is paid one.
Okay.
So then
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So there are 36 questions. They have a shorter version of 12 questions also, if I think. So then you would add like later what is NLC and add that
Okay.
and put here. And then you will, each one can go up to 24. And then you see the totals and see in what category you are more connected. So you can act in a more informed way, just not
Mm.
only, oh, I'm feeling tired or I
Yes, yes, yes,
there.
yes.
Yeah.
No, it's great. And I have a question. You mentioned you did the training mental health in organizations.
Yes.
Yeah. And who gives this training?
Albert Einstein Hospital is one of the major hospitals and research centers in Brazil.
Okay.
And they have like, it's becoming like they're also a university where they train people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's with all the teachers and doctors and psychiatrists and people related to them, which
Mm-hmm.
also do a lot of work for organizations. They started doing for themselves because they
Mm-hmm.
have thousands of healthcare professionals there, and then they also consult organizations, and then they created this very nice training about
Okay, okay, okay.
yeah.
And after that, you're certified in mental health organization.
Yeah, they share a lot of tools and knowledge on how we can promote well-being programs in the organizations, right?
Okay.
Yeah, there was a lot of HR people from organizations and a lot of healthcare people and a few like me interested in the topic.
Yeah. Okay. And do I understand that you've just left that meditation center and now you're looking for something else?
Yeah, so before coming to Portugal, I had for 5 to 6 years my own training company. That's why I started certifying on the mindfulness and search inside yourself, emotional intelligence, and other programs. So now I'm just reestablishing my business again.
Okay, so you will continue?
Yes.
Okay.
I will.
Great.
So if you need help or support with yours, it will be a pleasure to connect.
Yes. No, it's great that we've connected, and I hope we can meet in person if the gathering is in Portugal.
Yes, sure.
It might be an opportunity because you're planning to stay in
I
Portugal.
totally plan to go.
Okay, but
There's
you're
a
planning to stay in
possibility I move
Portugal.
to Germany, but I will still continue in Europe. I don't plan to go back to Brazil.
Yes.
So,
Okay. That was my question. Yeah.
yes.
Good.
Okay.
Super.
Thank you. Have a good meeting. Thank you for
Yeah.
staying here and nice conversation.
Yes. Thanks, Marina, for the very interesting material. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.